quiz is garbage. No way. Ooh, this guy thinks he's Captain Knots. Thinks he's Captain Tying Knots. When everyone needs some knots tied, they go to him.
Rock and roll is very simple. Just 4 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is rock and roll. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Välkommen till livestreamen.
Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing good. What is it, Tuesday? Tuesday evening? Sweet. I just, hopefully everything's all set up. I just got done teaching for the day, so there might be some errors. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing well. Yeah, how hot is it up there, Seth? It's like definitely high 90s right now. I love my studio, but this upstairs, it's like on the upper level. It gets so fucking hot. It's I've got 2 little air conditioning things going at once. I can't do it. But definitely check the sponsors out and all that stuff. I've gotten a bunch of questions from people recently about soloing that kind of overlap. And yeah, fuck you, hot for sure. One of my, it's one of my favorite things. Like when I was on tour, it was a day like this, and they started a "fuck the heat" chant, and it was like before we play. It was pretty funny. But yeah, it sucks up here. But anyway, people have been asking about questions about the soloing, improvising, making things more interesting. A lot of kind of overlap. And so, yeah, I just want to show a few things and improvise, but show some ways of building up the leads and, just some simple things that you can do to, improve whatever you're trying to shoot for in your leads and melodies and stuff. So if anyone has a specific concept or technique or something like that they are trying to be better at applying, or like whether that's a theory or a physical concept, anything like that, just feel free to shout it out. While we're getting started here, I'm just gonna make something just to get us going, and then we'll make this more interesting and play around with everything. Let's do this. Let's see. Alright, this will work. Oops. Let's see, so... Alright, so just to, like I said, if anyone wants to shout something out, feel free to do that in the chat. Right now, I'm just going to make up a little bass line and put a chord for us. Let's just do something in the key. Let's do D minor, why not? The saddest of all the keys. shit. Alright, so we're just gonna have a D minor chord. I don't know, we'll go to let's go to B flat. And then yeah, so far we're just gonna do a D minor chord, B flat chord, and then we're gonna go to a C chord. Why not? Okay. So, like I said, I'm going to kind of summarize what was happening to these people that were asking the questions. A big part of it was feeling like they're playing a scale or practicing, something, and then there's like, a backing track that's like very disconnected. It just sounds like literally like you're running up and down a scale, and it, no musical element to it. Non-chord tones. Well, let me hear. I need to, I'm gonna forget. I'm making myself a note. But, yeah, we'll definitely do non-chord tones. That's a good one. So that's a huge concept too, depending on how far you want to dive into it. But we'll go fairly deep. Let's get this going. So. Those. All right, so we're gonna fill this out more. So the D, and all I'm doing is just spelling out our chords. So D minor, D F A. B flat is B flat, D F. Oops. Keep those notes. I can. And then C. So okay, so I think generally speaking, I mean, you could just go for it at the beginning and kind of evaluate what's going on with your playing. I think probably, I would say probably if I were to guess, the majority of people struggle less with actual note choice and more with the ending of their ideas, as well as the end of their ideas in terms of like how they resolve, and then the rhythms of their ideas. Those tend to be pretty big areas where people have like some blind spots. So you might want to just start and just go for it and see what comes to mind. So just to kind of, I'm just noodling around based on the key we're in, right? So with you asking about non-chord tones, there's two categories of non-chord tones, right? You have diatonic and chromatic, meaning part of the key or outside of the key. I'll do a little demo of both. So the non-chord tones from your here, we're gonna only play the D minor chord, okay? So when that's looping, the notes are D, F, and A. Those are the notes that will sound resolved. Anything else is going to end up being a non-chord tone, right? And it's gonna sound transitional. So if I slowly go through the scale, and honestly, your ear is going to be telling you this already. It's just being able to put like a name to it. So if I were to play just the chord tones, I'll just play up the scale. Like the D will sound great. Right? If I hit the E, it's not bad. But it doesn't sound completed, right? Because it's a non-chord tone that's wants to pull us to one of those chord tones. So if I hit the D, the F, or the A, right, if I hit that E note, it'll pull us down to the D note or pull us up to the F. And the technique and everything of how you approach these notes is something that you should definitely be experimenting with, right? If you you don't want to be one of those players that can only play a lick in one key or in one spot and stuff. So anyway, with this, if I were to go through the whole scale, right? D is fine. E. Pulling more. The F is good. The G is going to pull us again. The A note sounds complete. B flat. It's going to pull us again. C is going to pull us. And there I bent it up to the D to make it actually sound resolved, right? So that's happening all over the place when you are soloing in general. Like I said, it's not like you're probably thinking about non-chord, chord tone, non-chord, that sort of thing. But as you're going through this, like, the one chord restriction is a very good one to do this with, because then you don't have to pay attention to chord changes and the notes that make those changes happen. In this case, we just have the one note. I know my scale. You could just pick a scale that you already know. I'm a big fan, and those my students know this, but I'm a big fan of having like cheat sheets in front of you so you can do the stuff rather than try and sit there and memorize it all, right? And so if you were, you can map out, okay, maybe you only know the pentatonic scale. Well, what I could do with this is I could say, okay, my D notes are right there. F notes, right? And I can go through and hit those. Right there, I could hit the A note. Right, so if I'm going through with this, right, I'm down that note. So right there, I bent up to an A note. Sounds complete, right? But all those other notes, and here's the thing, it's all about balance. If you are only hitting notes that are part of the chord, it's going to be super fucking boring, right? Like there's no tension or anything. So it's just going to be like only chord tones. Right? It starts getting super boring. So, horizontal and vertical. I feel stuck. Yeah. So you're saying you feel stuck going just straight up and down that one box, right? Like just the major scale or whatever. Yeah. We'll get. I'll add some of these in a sec. The vertical and horizontal thing is something that's good to keep your mind on. Because it's getting stuck in the one box is it's I mean, there are people that have made their entire career doing just the pentatonic scale on the 12th fret, but we want more for you guys. So the okay, so if we have this, like, if I only play notes that are not part of the chord, it just sounds like tension the whole time, and there's no resolving. So if I had sounds like shit, right? But if I combine them, start getting some more momentum. erotic stuff going on. Okay, so, then I just want to talk about the chromatic chord tones, or non-chord tones rather, for a sec, and then we'll start moving around a bit more with all this. So the non-chord tones that are not diatonic, the chromatic ones, are just notes that are not even part of the key. And I believe we've talked a bit about these at some point when I was doing some stuff on my solo album, but it can be very cool to do things like bend from notes that are not in the key. So if we had these notes for D, E, F, this F sharp is not there. So like, and there, 4 notes. Yeah, the 4 note, like extending it, right? Like, if you're playing that pentatonic, like if you're doing a 3 note per string, you could definitely, the 4s are crazy. But as far as like you could combine the 2 modes together for sure. I think that like in this case, if we were trying to do non-chord tones, I would find like especially the chromatic ones, you know. It's all about the motion, regardless of what your phrase is. There's like you're gonna have some level of anticipation where it's like, if I were to go, here's a good example. If I were to play this, you're waiting for it to be resolved. You know it could go somewhere else, I guess, but that's where it wants to go, right? So as you're using non-chord tones and you're soloing, you want to make sure that you're thinking about what the purpose of, where does it feel like it needs to go and stuff. So if I obviously, we're just doing it on the 1 chord right now, but that brings up a good point. If you can make your own backing tracks, do it. That's perfect. Yeah. If we have like, if you can make it yourself, it's probably a good idea. You could just honestly, like you could just even program quarter notes, just strumming a chord in like Guitar Pro. You know, something just like that, and then solo over that. But restrictions are huge because they force you to think differently. So if we're talking about that resolve the Locrian, well, if we're in D minor, so that like right here, we could use the Locrian shape overall, right? So it'd be like the E. But yeah, I probably wouldn't want to resolve on that note, right? Sounds good for the last one. Make it weird. I wonder what the weirdest, like, so just thinking of that, the weirdest things you could do, you could, restriction-wise, tons of physical restrictions, you could, with, like, certain fingers. I think the hardest thing would be to change keys a bunch. You know, you have, like, each, I forgot about that. That's awesome. Yep. You could totally do that. So like, let me think. So let's think about this. If you wanted to edge the shit out of people, right? Let's look at our notes. So for the first chord, we have D, F, A. Next chord, B flat, D, F. And last chord, we've got C, E, and G. So if we have those, we got a D, we have an E, we have an F, a G, an A. Yeah, we got all of our notes. So in this case, let's just avoid. So I'm gonna avoid chord tones for the first part, and then when it resolves, I'll do that. So this is gonna be hard. That is super hard. Oh, I won't steal it. You can do yours. You say like that sounds pretty shitty, right? There's just like it's all disconnected and everything. So Wicked. One restriction that I don't want to forget to bring up, but one restriction that definitely helped me, I think probably the most for getting around the fretboard, was to restrict myself to only using one string for the solo. And by that, I mean, it would be like, right? Just only one string move around. And you can give yourself, like, maybe if we're playing this one chord progression, you could do it like every 4 times through it you change or something like that. So yeah, soloing on one string is a huge thing for you. Another one would be to have the modes in front of you if you need them with all 7 of the shapes and stuff. And what I used to do is actually have them as flashcards, and I would flip them over randomly. So maybe it goes Dorian, Phrygian, Major, Locrian, whatever, it doesn't matter. But whatever that order is, that's the order that I would try and like connect them. So at first I needed like a thing that showed me what the starting, like on the 6th string, what I would be starting on and stuff like that. But yeah, that was another really good one. And honestly, this kind of goes along with what you just asked, right? So you said, like, how do you come up with a sequence that doesn't involve going in order, ascending and then descending? That's huge, right? Because no matter how cool of a sequence you play, if you just keep that going, like, fast and everything, it's right? It was boring before the second mode. So let's I think the rhythms can be a huge help for coming up with the sequence. So let's ignore rhythm for 1 second and take it one step back. And we're just going to do a 3-note per string pattern. Let me switch this so it's a little closer. So if I'm doing a 3-note, let's just say I don't know, I'll just use minor because it's cooler than major. So if I were doing, like, just say A minor. Right? It's just going up and down. Now, if I were to sequence this, you can play it in relatively the same order, like low to high, ascending. And like maybe I do like each string 2 times, right? Like a sequence where I repeat like the string. So like... But the things that I know you like more are more sequenced as like kind of what you were alluding to, the order of the notes. So if we had just that minor scale, now let's just say I can only play 3 notes per string. Okay, so I have to only play each note once and do move through that. There are a shit ton of patterns, right? Because for this one string, I could go, I won't even do just the one string, but I could do like 1st note, 2nd note, 3rd note, right? So let's just call it like 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I could do that going back down, right? If you reverse each string, right? So start on the high note, go low. It already starts to sound broken up. Now, when you have those, like, you could do any combination of the 1, 2, and 3, right? We could do 2, 3, 1. You could do, you obviously could do a longer thing. Like, if we wanted to do a pattern with 4 notes, we could do, like, 1, 2, 1, 3. Right? It's actually kind of a mind fuck just flipping the strings. If you play, that scale and you reverse each string and go like 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, 3. It's weird. Now, obviously that's just like, that's limiting because we're only doing like say 3 notes. So you could do 1, 2, 3, you could do 1, 3, 2, you could do 2, 1, 3, 2, 3, 1, or 3, 2, 1, or 3, 1, 2. And then you can get more elaborate than that, right? Then you can start changing up the way that the sequence is, you know, it doesn't have to be the same thing throughout the whole thing. But for the sake of practicing, it's really nice just to be like have a repetitive pattern. If it's going like 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, you know, then it starts getting a little bit more crazy. Unfortunately, though, that's the stuff that we like, right? We like all the crazy shit. Like the when you're playing, well, like that solo you're working on, the follow signs or whatever. That's sequencing that like arpeggio, but that pattern that you're using, that right? That pattern is like is much more common on a scale, like sort of thing. So as far as like breaking up, like if you boil down like phrasing, you have steps and leaps. So a step is when you play something in order, and a leap is when you skip something, one or more notes. And so if you only did steps, that like at first what happens to people is this: they go to solo and they can only go from point A. Let's say like I'm down here, that's my point A, my point B is here, and they're gonna play every note in between. They would go like, right? When you get a little bit more comfortable, you can break it up and have things where, like, especially if you remember what note you ended on. Right? So you can have all these, like, jump around a little bit more. Because, yeah, if you only play in the steps is where I think a lot of people, they do too many steps to begin with. So they, you know, like we were saying, they're going to end up repeating themselves and kind of like right. That's not terrible, but it's kind of it's a little bit more stale. So if I were to even just do like and honestly, like when you think, if you're not familiar with the term, in music we call our themes motifs. And a motif is a very, very small chunk of notes or a rhythm or something that ties things together. So I think thinking of the motifs can be a great way of doing this, especially if you are improvising, not just playing technically, right? If you're trying to like doing the improvising, you can, I mean, do it at whatever speed you want. But if you're trying to like work on the technique and stuff like that, for one, some of these patterns are just physically not going to be as possible to get as fast as others. But what you can do is you can try and apply that, right? So let's just say we did a pattern of let's do the second note, like 2, 1, 3. Let's say that's our pattern, okay? There's a lot, like with anything, you can really, really get over the top with it. I think like when you're doing this stuff, especially starting, take it easy. You know, so if you're soloing over this and you don't know every note, that's fine, because especially like Wicked and like I know you've got a good ear. Seth's got a good ear. So you kind of know what you want. It's just that you don't have the names for it, and like it doesn't come out as quickly, right? What am I giving the end of a phrase? Breathing room. So What does that say? What about giving end of one phrase breathing room? So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah. Especially like, no matter how cool of stuff I'm playing, right? If I'm going like, breathing room is huge, and so like the phrase, in order to give something breathing room, you can do a few things. You can just hold the note, you can stop it completely. You can slow down your rhythm. So like if I were like holding a note, those three are probably the main like things to think about. So if I were to do a fast phrase and then hold a note, right? Definitely need balance with everything. It's I mean, like, I think I've said this before, but there are metal bands that are more modern now that I just like. They have a lot of really cool ideas, but it's just full blast all the time, and it loses me. I need some dynamics, and that's the case with your solo. So like, I'm gonna show you this because, like I said, you don't even need to necessarily start or like do a lot to make it effective. Let's start with a very, very simple phrase. Okay, so what we're gonna do, I'm not gonna worry about explaining any of the theory. If you guys actually have a question on it, let me know. But I'm not even gonna worry about that right now. I'm just gonna take one shape, and so let's just say, like, let's keep it real simple. We're only gonna do the minor pentatonic scale. And just that one box for now. Like I said, if you were doing this to kind of start branching off, you could give yourself the restriction like one string or switch between the different modes and all that stuff. But for right now, only going to do that one, okay? The other thing I'm going to do is I'm only going to play one note per chord, okay? So I'm just going to figure out what I want. So, oop, I'm in the wrong... There we go. Start with those three notes, right? So just if you were curious, that note doesn't work so well, right? So you just start by doodling around. One note per. And obviously, if the note is not part of the chord, like right now I'm just picking one note from the chord. It doesn't have to be, though. You could literally choose the note on purpose. It's not. But if we start, I'm going to start very simple. I'm going to start spicing it up and making it a little bit more interesting. If you can do this, like, you can plan out as much as you want, even if you're trying to do the improv thing. But I think it's a really good goal to try and do this in the moment. So you train yourself to think faster. You train yourself to solve the problems that are popping up as they are. So like in this case, let's just say I go real simple, and then I'm going to start fleshing it out. So. start building it up a little bit more. If it's complex, it sounds good. Yeah, the less is more argument, right? I don't understand how less is more is more, right? I get what they're saying. They're saying that you can do, but I think that phrase in general is kind of bullshit, right? There are people that, you know, don't like fast playing, and they tend to, you know, like bluesy guys or whatever, tend to not like it as much. And there's nothing wrong with that, but the fact that it's like you can do more with more notes, right? So what they're trying to illustrate is it's like important to the phrase is important, right? It's not all about the technique. So it definitely is dependent on the layers and everything like that, right? Busy all the time could be great. Like that pages of the Paul Wardingham song are like that, just brutal, you know, super fast stuff the whole time, right? But it sounds good because of his note choice and because of the rhythm variations and all of that kind of stuff. I think the big thing that I just think about as far as like what is appropriate is what else is going on, okay? So like here, if we had, let's say like a rhythm part. So this is sloppy and shit, but you can get the idea. If that's very busy, I'm not probably going to want to be that busy with my other layers. You know? So if I have... like, at least not doing the same kind of rhythms, right? So I think that the rhythm and the note choice, it's important to think about your context. So like if I'm playing like right now I'm playing by myself, right? I could take it as extreme as I want and it wouldn't really be a problem. However, if I were playing in a band, like I used to fill in a lot for people around the city, and they're like, so a lot of times these bands would have drums, bass, keyboard, multiple singers, maybe 2 other guitar players, including me. Maybe not some other layers and stuff, but you don't want to all do the same thing, right? So like in the song that Damon, the one that you're doing, that Follow the Signs, right? That part is busy, but the background stuff has space in it, right? It's a pretty aggressive rhythm, but there's like rests and there's some things that are giving it breathing room. I think it's far more. It really depends on the sound you're going for, right? And the the context of what else is going on, so you don't clash. But I wouldn't think so much as it being a right or wrong. I mean, one thing that like in the stuff that you like, it's not as much repetitive shit, right? Like that phrase, right? Like I said, that's not even as common of a pattern for guitar players in general. But it's kind of constantly changing, right? What was it, though? Yeah. So all those those differences are what keep it interesting. Yeah, I'd just like to prove the point with the rhythm. If I were to match the bass drum and bass rhythm with my phrases, it'll still be good, but it won't be like as interesting. Yeah, but it absolutely is based on the context. Like I said, I think a lot of times people think too much right and wrong, and it's not so much about that. It's about what you want, you know. I mean, and like, you don't have to overcomplicate it, right? Like if you your song, we could. Let me think about that real quick because I don't have it in this session. You know what? I might be able to do that. So, yeah, for sure. Let me, here. Let me just, I think I have it, but just so it's not, I'm not sure where that backing is. So rather than skim it around real quick, let's put that in there. All right, let's see if I can find this real quick for you. So the backing track that he's bringing up, he was over here at the studio the other day, and we took one of his ideas and started building it into more, and then he came up with a cool heavy riff. Where the hell is this? There we go. All right. Will this work? Son of a bitch. I did have to download it real quick. There we go. Seriously? God damn it, this is annoying. I'll figure it out, I promise. My stupid computer. Okay. Do you remember what tempo it was at? I don't remember. But let's just throw this in here. Okay. So this is like the heavier little riff I think that we did real quick. We were at a different... I'm just going to adjust this tempo so it actually plays right. What? Yeah, if you remember what the tempo was. At 120, okay. All right. Alright, so if we got this thing going. Nice. Alright, so here's the deal. I'm gonna make sure this is set up. His idea is all in B minor. And so, like I said, I'm a big fan of preparing stuff ahead of time. So if you I don't know, if you need to like map out a fretboard, make some chord charts to show you where notes are, anything like that, where all your scale shapes start, whatever you need, get that in front of you. And then I think it's a good idea to start just going for. So if we were to solo over this and just go for it, let's see it, Did you see my fuck up? All right, we're gonna loop this. Okay. So let's if you're having a hard time with starting points, right? Like maybe I want to make this kind of sequence it out more, like you were mentioning. Make it not sound like so much in order, right? So if I have like this up a little bit. And here, actually, let's start simple again. So maybe you start with just that pentatonic. That pentatonic pattern sounded badass with this. Little side note. But like what you choose to apply in that moment makes a big difference into what you hear, right? So if I did, I don't know, let's just say we did arpeggios, right? You're kind of... You need that. Yeah, I do know what you like. It's because I like the same shit. But yeah, I mean, like, and let me just do this. If I demonstrate, like right there, I was just pulling the sweeps out of my ass. But the thing I'm following was the bass lines. Just so this is just a little side note for you. When you have those individual note riffs, you're following the notes that follow the root notes of the chord. You can figure out the sweeps. But just to go through a few different things, if I did the pentatonic and blues scale, it's going to sound a lot more like kind of a classic rock, traditional, I guess, lack of a better word, kind of vibe. If I switch to the 3-note per string, it's going to be more like modern shredding kind of sounding, more color to it. I could go to some exotic scales. I could, apply certain techniques like tapping or whatever. So let's go through some of these. So I'm going to start with, I'll call it out. So pentatonic. If you repeat the pentatonic patterns like something smaller, like a motif, a smaller motif, it can definitely be something good that you can move around with. You hear this shit all the time. Where you have like, that's where the fingers builds up. 3-note per string. Ooh. Fuck that. Don't hit those notes. So the what's the side? Flute and cello. Okay, so I mean that goes along with this. So I'm assuming you don't have a flute and a cello hanging out, right? So if you are trying to write something for that, you could definitely write it on guitar and then transfer it to whatever instrument you want later. So like for like I mean you could there's VSTs that you can do it with, but notes are notes. So like if you were here, let's say you don't have like, because I know you don't have a way of actively recording yourself right now. If I can get you this is a free one. I could make a melody just on piano. Let's see. That's not my note. Okay. Okay, so if I just take this one little phrase just to show you, I'm taking the notes that are in my key, B minor, and I'm just playing them on the piano. So soloing the piano. And then here's a good example of what I mean by like changing things up, and like here's my little melody, right? So this could be on anything. Like I said, I just put it on piano. I could totally play that on here, right? I could play that in other octaves too. So I could have like a really, maybe I want a low version, right? Sounds cool. Now, with that phrase there, there's a little bit of space, right? So you can definitely let the music breathe and just have it be there. But you could also go ahead and like put some fast stuff in there, right? Like I could have this phrase. And actually, one thing I should mention too, if you were to go higher pitched, it tends to sound like you're building up to something. And if you move down, it tends to sound like you're coming to an end. So just as a, I mean, if I went a little bit more built up, right? A little bit more conclusive. So if I were to take this one little phrase, so there I just added a different low note. You could have both, right? Like songwriting wise, we could totally put these, hello. We could totally take this. Fuck you. You know, have. Right? Add harmonies. This is not going to be the best sounding because I'm just doing this quickly, but let's take it. So I'm going to record that little melody I came up with, and then we're going to put some variations in there. So, you know, like we were saying, if I were to go... adding more. Now here, let's talk about the harmony thing real quick, because something simple like that can go a long way. So if we had, let me record the first one. Kind of fucked it up, but let's say we wanted a harmony in here. Harmony. Fucked up the last note too, but all I'm doing right there is a third harmony. So when you have your first idea that we did, then I can fill that in with the that sort of thing to build it out, right? Now the thing I was gonna say though is this chunk. I'll show you on here with the piano again. This chunk right here, there's that space, right? We can put whatever, like that. We have one full measure of 4/4 that we don't have anything in right now. So let me turn this up. Now here, like I said, there's times I shouldn't even say times. There are dozens of times where I write shit that I can't play, and I have to figure it out, right? So right here, so let's say, I don't know, what are you thinking here? There's something. Okay, so if this is going the direction that you're running, what do you hear right now? What in that space, do you hear something that's like something slow, like a bend or something held note more? Do you hear nothing? Maybe arpeggio, maybe a scale. What do you think? So let's just again. What goes there, right? So if I wanted to do sweeps, right? You can just add that in. That, you could do like I think scales could sound cool. Maybe like a pentatonic. So you can literally not play any of this except that ending part. Now here, so if we've talked a bit about this, but like variations tend to go like maybe version A, B, A, and then C, like something different. So like pinch harmonic with, there you go. Fill in the second one. Perfect. So if we had, and I think honestly, I think like just doing this right now, I think if you were to do something like this with the third harmony like, as a lead, I think it'd be pretty fucking bitchin'. But let me get the I shouldn't have done that, sorry. I forgot I was looping. This one. Okay, so I purposely put those little pauses in there, right? Now if we wanted the harmony, just to show you, I'm gonna, like I said, we could have that in there. Now, obviously, that's a very stripped down version of that, and like as we play stuff, and maybe it doesn't sound exactly like the song, right? Or it's not exactly what, like, think about those techniques and the extra things that people add, right? So I'll add the pinch and the vibrato and all that stuff. But one thing you could do is like just with that phrase, right? Kind of stripped down. Maybe I want. I kind of, it could be scale sequences, it could be a lot of things filling that out. But ooh, I got a thing. This would be cool with a slow bend that turns into a pinch. I hit the wrong pinch. And actually, this is, I'll do the unison first. Nope, I butchered that. Doesn't help that I couldn't hear myself. I didn't like that one either. So in this case, what I would do is I know I want the harmony. I got one measure of whatever I want, right? So when I need to figure out a faster element to add, I think that one of the most helpful things is to think about actually like what the rhythm is that you want, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like exact, but just thinking like in this case, that one. Let's see. Let's put the. So I could do like 16th notes. So yeah, so again, like with if we want to do sweeps, yes, that's cool. The your like bass line, right? You've got the B minor, A, yeah, so B flat, A. I set it out of order. But if we do that, like just sweep over the whole thing. Shit, don't do that. So if we were to figure out, like, okay, I want to sweep, and I want, you know, whatever. If I don't have a specific plan in mind, maybe I would, like here, let me do a sweep pattern as triplets, or not as triplets, we might as well. So let's just say at the end there, we're doing that A chord, so it would help not to be muted. Let's start up higher. So I could just, like right here, I just programmed the notes that would be in that sweep. So you could have the... So that's a little slower one, right? So... let's see, so oops. I think the faster stuff would be cool. And honestly, like even if you're not playing everything, if you just go like this and have this stuff. Yeah, this is, I mean, that's sweet, right? Because you just have that one little idea and then you build it up. Now, let me just get rid of this extra shit real quick. If you, like I said, if you play and you start building it up, like we were talking about moving around, right? It's good to move, like octaves are super helpful tools. So if you were to play a phrase, so let's do, first time I'm gonna play it, I'm gonna play roughly the same phrase we were just doing. But I'm gonna play it on a lower octave. Probably won't start that low, but then I'm gonna build it up and start adding more stuff in it, just to kind of give you a little demo. But yeah, so let me just bring this up because you mentioned the happier thing, right? So when you're playing, there are a lot of types of harmonies. So you could definitely do, you know, so oops, wrong one. You could definitely do something different, but the third harmony is for sure the most like most commonly used. Think Iron Maiden, right? When you have, what am I trying to say? Whenever you play something, if you play, like, say, 3 notes higher and go for the harmony, you're harmonizing the lower part. So one thing just to be aware of is if you want, you can always add a harmony lower, but it kind of shifts the focus a lot of the time. So, if you have this, if you can visualize the scale shapes, that honestly makes it so much easier, because then you can just be like, okay, I played the first thing in the minor scale. If I go up, 3 modes, I'm at major. Or if I was playing in major and I wanted to do a third, I could go to Phrygian, that sort of thing. Because then you literally can just copy the pattern. So if we had like, here, let's say I went. If I play that up 3, right, it sounds a lot happier. So, because we were using the major, but together they work really well together. Say we wanted to have this and add some of those chromatic notes, they're non-chord tones, right? Ooh, this is gonna be a badass one. It's over. But yeah, and like with this, like I think it's harder for a lot of people to solo over the busier stuff. So when you have something, where you're moving around more in metal and riffs and stuff, it sometimes for sure it can be a little awkward at times. A lot of times what happens is people feel like they need to play faster even though they don't really. So I just remember I never actually brought this up. If you're looking to add like, the other instrument with the VSTs and stuff like that, the thing I just wanted to make sure I said was like, you can write it in anything and you can send that to me or anyone, and then they can run it through their stuff. So you don't even need to have the VST that you want in the end. You can just do it yourself, So like, you could do it like with that piano like we just did. And then like literally, like, just to show it, like if I program this on, right, I can take that and I can make that into a synth. Now, and actually, while I'm doing this, let me show you something. I'm going to play that melody. Yeah, here's actually, I'm going to challenge you on something, Damon. I don't think you have a hard time necessarily thinking of those things, but I feel like you come up with an idea and then you move on, right? And so like, it's kind of like the musical version of like we're talking like ADD, right? Where you have like, I think when I hear you improvise or noodle around and stuff, you come up with a ton of good ideas, but it's like I as soon as I lock in with it, then you moved on to something, and so what you want to try and do, like we were doing at the beginning, just taking one simple small phrase and gradually adding to it, or you know, just building up little elements, like constantly asking yourself what would make this better. Maybe you need to change up some, you know, something. I'm going to play this melody real quick. So I'm going to play this. I'm going to play that on the guitar, but let's just say we had, say we want another layer, right? And you not even like a melody, but just something to fill it out more. All of the notes, we're in the key of B minor, and it doesn't matter if you have like a specific chord in mind or not. You have a good ear. So I think you playing around with picking notes will help a ton. So you could do this with octaves on the guitar, but I'm just gonna do something simple. So let's just say we went. I'm gonna do the octaves on the keyboard. What do we want? So here are those. I'm hitting. It's a B minor chord. I hit the 3rd and the 5th, and then I'm gonna hit. G. Okay, E. So right here, this is our simple little like extra layer for it. Now that sounds pretty good, but already I'm hearing variations. So like that would be boring for me to just stick with that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna change to the very last one instead of okay, that's all I did. I'm just picking random notes from the scale. If you're curious, it's going D, F sharp, G, E, D, F sharp, G, and then ending on an A. So just playing this part. So if we have that playing, why not add the other melody, right? You can have more than one. Let's put the original one back in there. That's cool. The more layering you have, this kind of goes back to some of the previous points, but the layering, the more you start stacking things up, the more you got to calm down with things, right? But you can have as many layers as you want songwriting wise, and then for soloing, you just want to be thinking about what the context is, right? With this being busier, it wouldn't sound, I don't think, so great for me to do the exact same rhythm, like a. The only time I think I think if you are trying to keep the rhythms very similar, it's good to just stick to chord tones most of the time. So if we did so it's a cool idea, man. But yeah, write whatever you want, and then if you you can export the MIDI straight out of Tux Guitar. So if you're using Tux Guitar or Guitar Pro, you can literally take what you write in there and just throw it in something else with whatever sound, so flute or cello or whatever. If you like the cello, the BBC Symphonic Orchestra one is pretty sweet. Yeah, totally. I'm just throwing out options. The point of that, like, so here's the thing. Like, you might hate this idea just because it's lame, right? That's totally cool. And then you could also be like we were talking about, like, this could be something that I probably wouldn't use this synth patch right now. I would change it to something, or I would have that part actually be like here. If you were to change that to not being a synth and make it like a guitar part, right? Like, so if we went. Separate program to make what MIDI? Are you talking about like Tux? Or like Guitar Pro? That's like the tablature? Or are you talking? Because that's already MIDI. Yeah, Tux. Okay, so here. I don't have Tux Guitar on this computer, but what I will do real quick is do the exact same thing in Guitar Pro. So whatever you have, let's see what it pops up. ZZ Top, that's, what is that? All right, so I'm just going to create something real quick. I'll make this bigger so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so we've got our Tux Guitar, pretend it's Tux Guitar, right? And we're going to type in, I don't know. Here, let me just do this. I'm just going to pull up the fretboard and do a quick. Oops. Okay. So right there, I just have a little, so not the coolest idea, but something, right? Where we have, let's loop it. That's actually pretty good. It's pretty cool. Okay, so in there, when you go to File, Export, MIDI, it looks obviously a little bit different, but you export the MIDI. Cool shit. Put this in the. Okay, so we just did the we did our cool shit in Tux Guitar. Now what like when you bring up I guess I need to open my File Explorer, right? You just all you do, like, you can't really maybe see me dragging it in, but here. Cool shit. This is my MIDI file that I just exported. I would click and drag it in here, and I would just put it on a new track. So when we do that, let's see if it's. Yep. So you can see it labeled it as a clean guitar. It here we go. And it's playing it as a like a shitty version of the guitar, right? If I broke that, like I said, it doesn't matter what you put it in because it's MIDI up by default. So if I didn't want it on a guitar and I wanted exactly what we just had in, Tux Guitar, but we want it as a here. Let's put it up here as a here. Oh shit. You could literally do this and have it as multiple instruments. It could be everything, right? So here, now we have it playing on a guitar, piano, synth, and bass. So like right there, I don't remember what my pattern was completely, and I don't really feel like having to learn it all. So right now, so if I were to do this, I would program it out, and then if I wanted it on guitar later, I definitely can. But yeah, definitely. And it's really cool because there's no limit to what this can change into. So when you have, I gotta delete this. So we can always switch it into really whatever you want. But and you don't even have to do the export thing, by the way, dude. If you ever need me to run something through it, just you can just send me the Tux guitar file. But that's killer. So yeah, we kind of jumped all over the place, but I wanted to give some ideas for like the soloing and stuff like that. It's already 8:30, Jesus. Before we end up going, does anyone out there have anything that they would like to see applied? See anything else added to this, or like just a question in general? I'm just gonna jam on this for a second while you guys can think. But if there is anything, let me know. We're gonna be doing a lot more of these, and then there's gonna be guided practice sessions are starting soon too. So this is gonna be pretty cool for the future. So yeah, if you think of anything, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just gonna jam this out. Had a random idea I want to figure out myself. It's like that fingering I just figured out. Like in my head, I was hearing a certain technique, so I was hearing the slide, and that's not the normal way of playing it. So end up adding it in. Yeah, I'll give you guys a second if you want to think of anything, but otherwise we're going to call it an evening. Nice. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you. We are doing... I'm trying to think real quick. Saturday, we're doing another stream where we are reviewing some people's music and building up from there. Trying to take song ideas and elaborate on them. Kind of doing like this, but more with like someone's actual song ideas again. So we'll be doing a little bit of that on Saturday. Like I said, the guided practice sessions are starting up soon, and we've got a bunch of actually other classes and stuff that we're getting all going. So, yeah, it's always a fun time. it's nice just to be able to. It's kind of fun today just to chill after teaching and do some jamming and explain some things. Because like I said, I don't even know, 5 or 6 people asking about this just the last 2 days. So I feel like it was a good sort of thing to kind of cover a bunch of topics and yeah, give you some ideas. But certainly ask questions because that's my whole thing. I love helping people out. So if there's anything I can do, let me know. Those of you that had asked about studio work, I will be getting back to you in the next day or so. So, all right. Have a great night, guys.